The Honorable Joseph Biden, President of the United States of America, heads of state and government, ladies and gentlemen. Barbados has the third oldest legislature in the Americas with an unbroken parliamentary tradition which dates back to 1639. Only the Virginia House of Burgesses and the Bermuda House of Assembly predates it. With the arrival of the British came their system of government, and thus it was that parliamentary representation that took solid root. One problem: it ensured that those of the landed gentry in Barbados and in the United Kingdom were able to enjoy the spoils provided off the backs of the enslaved Africans. So, my friends, regrettably, for the majority of our history, Parliament was an instrument of oppression rather than being a platform for the empowerment of our people. It was in 1937, with the popular rebellion which started in Golden Square, that we saw then the beginning of the modern political party system, and after, the formation of trades unions. The decision to allow women the right to vote in 1944 and all other Barbadian adults without a property qualification in 1950, it was then that we signaled the advent of the modern democratic state. These developments made it possible for us to do two major things. One, to claim our destiny as an independent nation in a matter of years in November 1966, and two, to pursue a development trajectory since then in the interests of the Barbadian people. For us, the building of a good society responsive to the needs of all of our people, especially the most vulnerable, has always been at the foundation of our understanding as to what constitutes a successful democracy. Today, representative democracy remains alive and well in Barbados, with free and fair elections as its bedrock. It is significant that I record this speech in the week during which Barbados has formally become a parliamentary republic. One of the key elements of this process has been the settlement and approval of the Charter of Barbados of 2021 that lays out very clearly the 5 articles to guide the behavior of our citizens in relating to each other, in pledging to each other, and indeed in engaging the rest of the world. Article 1 makes it clear that all Barbadians are born free and are equal in human dignity and rights, regardless of age, race, ethnicity, faith, class, cultural and educational background, ability, sex, gender, or sexual orientation. Of equal importance are the articles that speak to the need for active citizenship, namely those that impose a duty to care for each other and to reflect that each person has the right and duty to participate in the economic, political, and social life of our nation. This charter builds upon our strong tradition of free education up to tertiary level, universal health care, and a strong social welfare and social security safety net. This has led to us being recognized by the United Nations as one of the leading developing countries according to its UN Human Development Index. But my friends, this comes at a very high cost. Small island developing states like ours remain inherently vulnerable to all kinds of external and existential shocks, be they the climate crisis, the pandemic, global inflation, disruption of the global supply chains, just to mention a few. These constitute ever-present threats to our democracy. And what are the facts? We hardly make any contribution to carbon emissions. We are a victim of our success in that we are denied access to concessional financing even though we are not a developed nation. The international financial institutions remain reluctant to provide access to concessional funding on the basis of vulnerability as a relevant criterion. This puts us at risk of pauperization should one of those shocks to which I referred materialize. Indeed, we have seen it with a double-digit decline of our economy as a tourism and travel dependent nation in the midst of this pandemic. Food and nutritional security now is as urgent to us today as it was during World War II, when our island was cut off in large measure from the rest of the world. These issues all stand to affect the quality of life of our people. For you must believe me when I say, there can be no true democracy without the development of our people. A people deprived of an economic or social existence will have no appetite for democratic ideals. They will not find it possible to protest the breach of human rights in the way that we would like. Countries with high levels of democracy can boast of higher human capital accumulation, lower inflation, lower levels of political instability, and lower levels of corruption, as well as higher economic freedom. Democracy, my friends, must be rooted in the elimination of poverty and the assurance of freedoms. And fundamentally, freedom is about one's right to choose, and hence it is inextricably linked to the elimination of poverty. We must never forget that democracy is not simply a monolithic institutional construct. It is about people. And this is why we must commit always to seeing each other, to hearing each other, and to caring for each other. If we can do this, then we can give breath to democracy each and every day.